Tonight, as we go to war abroad, the fights continue at home as the boxing community across the country bonds together to help our fallen comrades. They're all here tonight to swing on the star. And another cordial welcome to Star Boxing. I'm your host, Arnie Rosenthal, joined as I always am by the Commissioner, Randy Gordon. Randy, the events of September 11th left the sports world devastated as it left the entire country. But as always during wartime, the sports community seems to lift itself up and participate in making everybody try to feel good. What exactly is going on in the boxing community now, and how do you see this compared, let's say, to tragedies past, World War II, etc.?
Well, you know, you go back to World War II, the legendary Hall of Famer, heavyweight champion Joe Louis was called out of his boxing career in the prime of his career. He went into the service and he boxed in the service. He did exhibitions. He kept morale high. So did former lightweight and welterweight champion Barney Ross, who suffered some very severe injuries, was addicted to morphine way back 50, 60 years ago. Because of all those injuries, he came out. He served his country. What I'm seeing now is just a pulling together of Americans all over, and I'm very proud to be in the sport of boxing because I see all over the country, boxers and promoters and managers and trainers are getting together. They're doing these exhibitions, trying to raise money for everybody, and it makes me very proud to be a part of boxing.
And of course, our own family here, Joe DeGuardia, has done a fantastic job this evening, bringing in the fire department, bringing in the police force, and having all sorts of benefits going on here to help all the causes, and I too am proud, and we'll be proud to see you. Stay with us for our first bout on Star Boxing after these words.
Hey boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
And by Punch Cigars, short on the drag and long on the punch. Also by the Retired Boxers Foundation, the undisputed champions of dignity. All right, getting ready for our next bout. We're going to see who's making their long walk through the, what we call now the horse walk here at Yonkers.
It's got that healthy smell about it, too. That healthy aroma.
And you can see Tommy Parks in the house here, former trainer of three-time world champion Bobby Ches.
And, of course, a Livingston Ramble.
Ramble as well. And
Eddie, Charles the Natural Murray also.
Gary Carriero now making his way to the ring. Carriero broke a 5-bout losing streak in his last fight against Kerry Jones, winning a 4-round decision from Jones back in July. Like to keep things going here. And Randy, we've talked about fights like this. This is what we call our just for contenders, or just for opponents match as it goes. Both fighters coming in with losing records, looking to get that win so they can keep things going.
And many times you get the best fight of the night with guys like this.
There you go. We're going to find out more about these pugilists from our ring announcer, Dean Stone.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to the Yonkers Raceway, Yonkers, New York, where tonight Joe DeGuardia presents Star Boxing. All of tonight's bouts are sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission, your chairman, Mel Southard. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout of the evening is scheduled for 6 rounds in the super middleweight division. Your referee in charge of the action, Harry Smith. Introducing first, In the blue corner, wearing black and white, weighing in at 157 pounds. His professional record, 2 victories, 1 coming by way of knockout with 4 defeats. Ladies and gentlemen, from the brick city of Newark, New Jersey, presenting Franklin Betances. His opponent across the ring in the red corner, wearing white and black, weighs in at 163 pounds. He is a veteran of more than 20 professional fights. Ladies and gentlemen, from Port Chester, New York, presenting Gary Carriero.
You understand English? Listen, just keep your punches above like that, okay? And I want a clean fight. Show the spectators a good fight, okay? And may the best man win.
All right, as we mentioned, Carriero coming in with an 8-11-2 record. Has never stopped anybody. Still looking for his first knockout as a pro, but broke that 5-bout losing streak, as we mentioned, with a win over Terry Jones in his last fight back in July. He's been stopped twice in his career. Also stopped twice in only 6 professional fights as Franklin Betances. He was last stopped in his last professional fight, that being in April of '98. So he's been off quite a while, Randy.
Well, Gary says it was immaturity that drove him to about a 3.5-year layoff back in 1997. I still can't believe he has not knocked out one opponent in 21 professional fights. Nowhere will you see a guy with 21 professional fights with 0 knockouts.
Of course, Gary had the 4-year layoff from December of '97 to June of this year. And Franklin Betances has not fought since April of '98 when he was knocked out by Carlos Negron.
Layoff city for both these guys, but Gary says
the rust is flying.
Yes, and I think it's going to do a lot of flying tonight. Gary says he was just, and I'm going to quote him. I said, Gary, what happened that you were never the contender I thought you'd be when you turned professional back in 1990? He said, Randy, I was young and dumb.
Well, and he was put in with some, look at some of the names on here. He fought Stefan Ouellette, who went on to be a world champion in only his 6th professional fight, losing a 4-round decision. He fought Brian Barboza. So they were just tossing him in real easy. Alex Stewart couldn't be the same Alex Stewart.
No, not that
I don't think so, but he did fight Lloyd Joseph, good fighter, and among others, Larry Barnes,
who was a top welterweight contender.
Of course, all of these in losing situations.
Actually, I think the Barboza fight was his biggest victory, if I recall. That was in Connecticut. I think he actually opened up one of the casinos that night. It was the first fight.
He did beat Brian Barboza over 6 rounds, and that was back in April of '92, 10 years ago.
And I do believe that was the first fight up at one of those casinos.
Could very well be. And one of the few losses that Brian Barboza to this day has on his record. Boy, does he look a lot bigger than Betances or what? He came in, he's 6 pounds heavier tonight, and that could be a major factor here too. Because Betances was not supposed to be the original opponent tonight for Carriero.
As often happens in boxing. See those quick hands we talked about at Betances. He's winging those shots.
After 21 professional fights, as we mentioned, Carriero yet to have his first knockout. And it could come tonight against Betances, who's got somewhat of a suspect chin. He's been stopped twice. And he has an unusual win. He actually holds a 4-round decision win back in 1995 over Derek Graham, who wound up breaking into the top 10 at 154 pounds, only to lose to Winky Wright in an eliminator to see who got the shot with Vargas, which, of course, Winky Wright got.
Every once in a while, you look at these contenders' records and you see a loss on there and say, who is this that beat him? In the case of Graham, this is one of them.
That's
Betances.
it. Good first round, though, for Carriero.
Can't get enough of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing? Download the Star Boxing TV app or check out our Roku channel to watch exclusive content and classic fights. Every punch, every knockout, every screen. The Star Boxing TV app gives you exclusive access to every moment of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Available on Apple, Android, and Roku. Just search Star Boxing to get in the ring.
Round number 2, scheduled 6-rounder. Arnie Rosenthal along with Randy Gordon coming in tonight from Yonkers Raceway. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Gary Carriero, he's in the white and black, looking for the first knockout of his career after 21 fights. Perhaps it'll come tonight. He's got a 6-pound weight advantage over Franklin Betances. Pretty good first round for Carriero.
It was. He used that jab. He used his movement. He's very, very calm, very patient. And I thought it was his left jab that won him that first round.
Doesn't let the right hand go, though, Randy.
He's just pawing right now, taking his time, taking a look. Something tells me he wants to try to drop that right hand and get that first professional knockout tonight. And he wants to do it with the right hand.
Well, and he's got the right man standing in front of him. He's been knocked out twice, as we mentioned, and he hasn't fought in over 3 years. So if it's going to come, it's going to come tonight. But if he drops his left like that, he may find himself on the floor and stop for the 3rd time in his career.
Some very hard jabs by Carriero, but both of them missed. There's another one that missed, fell short.
Just about halfway gone here in the second. Randy, let me ask you a question. What do you see about Carriero that might tell you why the knockouts have never come?
I know in his own mind that he really wants one, but he basically likes to lay back a little bit. Also, that immaturity. He never had a belief in himself that he had tremendous stamina, so he would never fight 3 minutes around, wouldn't put on the pressure that he was really capable of doing to wear an opponent out. Because he's a very solid body puncher, but he'll never give you 180 seconds around.
Just dropped a nice left hook in, but was not sitting down on his punch, didn't really have his weight behind it.
See, he does a lot of that. It's posing. He bends, he looks, he goes to the left, he goes to the right, but he's got to throw punches. You're not going to get knockouts bending and bobbing and weaving and slipping and sliding.
Well, we're under a minute to go here in the second, and he's not really keeping up a torrid pace. Although he's got nice lateral motion, stays on his toes. Oh, when he drops a big right in there, but once again drops his hands after he punches.
Oh, just for Gary's sake, I'd like to see him land that right hand and have knockout number 1. And I got to tell you, nicer guys you just don't find as respectful as they come to everybody he meets.
Well, he's going to need more than that, though, to make it at this point at 34 years of age. Coming up on 34.
And you know what's happening? He's starting to see all these guys that he came up through the whole New York gym scene with, just getting out there and making money.
Well, still doing enough to win the round, but not enough to stop Betances.
Hey, boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
Back at ringside for round number 3 of a scheduled 6-rounder. These are middleweights. And actually, you have to look at Betances and say he's a junior middleweight, because Carriero's got 163 pounds to his 157 tonight. Right now, not taking advantage of that extra weight, though, Randy. Not really sitting down on his shots.
Not at all. He's doing what Gary has done best over his career. Lay back, use the jab, just measure his guy, go to the body once in a while. I got to tell you something. He needs a fire lit underneath him. He has to fight this round like he needs the round to win the fight.
He started his pro career back in August of '90 against one of your relatives, Carlos Gordon.
Quite frankly, my father's name is Carl Gordon, so he beat Dad.
Well, but your father was moonlighting as Carlos Gordon back in August of '90. Didn't want to tell you about that. Things were a little rough in those days. It was early '90s. There was a little recession going on at the time. Dad going and fighting a 4-round, lost the decision to Carriero, but a lot of people thought he carried him.
And then it was about a year later. They fought to a draw.
Actually, that was before federal IDs. I think your father gave the card to somebody else, and somebody else showed up and said he was Carlos Gordon.
And you know what? Both fights, the 4-round decision and the draw, both were very hard-fought fights. Those are two of the harder-fought fights and faster-paced fights that I ever remember Gary being in.
And interestingly enough, that draw, when we go back to this Carlos Gordon situation, that draw was the turning point in his career going a little sour. He just really never got back on track as we're halfway gone here in the third.
Yeah, he lost a couple of decisions, won a couple of decisions. Of course, one of those being the fight that we talked about against Brian Barboza, maybe the biggest victory in his career. And then it was then a couple of TKO stoppages, the only 2 times he's been stopped in his career. And every other time he's been in the ring, he's been on one side or another of a decision.
Right now, he's allowing Franklin Betances to stay in this fight and get rid of his own personal rust. Betances' career started back in August of '95. He knocked out German Burgos in 2 rounds in New Jersey. Then beat Derek Graham, as we mentioned, then lost in a rematch to Graham, and then continued losing 3 more. So if we go back to '98 when he had his last fight, he's got a 4-bout losing streak that he'd like to stop tonight. And Tommy Parks is in his corner for a reason. You know, Tommy doesn't make that trip from New Jersey to Yonkers unless he thinks he can win. Tommy,
in my mind anyway, one of the better trainers, one of the better cornermen, one of the better boxing guys I've ever met. And you're right, he won't just jump in somebody's corner for the sake of being in the corner.
All right. Well, we're about halfway gone here. And a bit of a boxing lesson being given by Carriero, but not in terms of knockout power. Second half of a scheduled 6-rounder. Gary Carriero, white and black and white. That would be Franklin Betances. Nobody been down thus far in the fight. And Randy, I've got it right now as a total shutout for Carriero.
Same thing. And right at the end of round number 3, Gary landed his best punch of the fight just as the bell was sounding, a sharp left hook to the chin.
And Betances just landed a left hook of his own. And you said that a little bit of a confidence issue you thought perhaps with Carriero on distance fights, and maybe that's going to make the determination here about whether Betances can come on in the second half.
Gary has had over the years some very tough sparring. He's been in there with a lot of guys. I think it's one of his toughest fights, not in the gym, in the arena in 1996, was against welterweight welterweight contender Larry Barnes. Gary lost an 8-round decision in a very tough, closely contested fight. And somehow I think that night he really felt at the end of the fight like an opponent, not a contender.
And that's when he was in. That was right at the beginning of a 5-bout losing streak. And as we mentioned, he broke that with Terry Jones this past July.
Well, he really wanted one more shot. He said, I know I've got it.
Did you see him as an amateur?
Yeah.
And did he have punching power then? Was he stopping guys in the amateur?
No, he seemed to lay back. He never really progressed in my mind. I'd love to see him just start throwing and throwing and throwing.
You mentioned something about one of his cornermen also was sort of a historic figure.
Oh, boy. Jimmy Santangelo. Jimmy, former trainer of a guy by the name of Jake LaMotta. Jimmy has been around forever. I think he worked the corner of Cain and Abel.
Which corner? Did he have the winning side?
Winning side. Winning side. And, of course, that was before the Marcus of Queensberry rules.
Well, Betances not offering much up, and now the first uppercut thrown of the fight by Carriero, something we hadn't seen in his arsenal, and perhaps something, if he wants to put Betances down, that he should do a little bit more of.
One of his cornermen, Ray, is screaming at him, jump on him.
Would you put Betances in a 6-rounder for his first fight back after a 3-year layoff?
You know, you have to wonder what they're thinking about, but then who are they putting him in with? They're putting him in against a very tough Gary Carriero. Not a world beater, no heavy puncher. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good matchup.
Well,
I just would like to see both guys throw a little bit more, especially Gary.
Well, Carriero's starting to open up a little bit right now. I think he senses that Betances has slowed down considerably from his pace over the first 3 rounds. Interestingly enough, though, Randy, Betances, only 24 years old. Turned pro. Well, I'm going to do my math, but I'm not wrong here. He turned pro at 18.
Can't get enough of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing? Download the Star Boxing TV app or check out our Roku channel to watch exclusive content and classic fights. Every punch, every knockout, every screen. The Star Boxing TV app gives you exclusive access to every moment of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Available on Apple, Android, and Roku. Just search Star Boxing to get in the ring.
Round number 5, Arnie Rosenthal with the commissioner, Randy Gordon, at ringside. Watching Gary Carriero pitch a shutout right now against Franklin Betances. Nobody's been on the floor in this middleweight fight. Scheduled for 6.
Gary just taking his time. You're talking about pitching a shutout. I mean, he's throwing the junk up there, a little slider here, breaking ball over here, change up over there. Freaky deaky, as Leon Spinks used to call it.
Well, he's just standing there right now and trying to time Betances and sucker him in. He's got such a height and reach advantage and weight tonight. 6 pounds, as we mentioned, over. Looks to go downstairs to the body and eats 2 left hooks for it. Nice combination by Betances there. Oh, big right over the top right now by Carriero. One more time.
That was bigger than the one you just were talking about.
I think he's going for it, Randy.
Gary's trying to load up there. He goes again. That time he missed. Over the top with the right. But I'm not sure Gary on that last right hand that landed flush on the face of Betances could have landed any harder.
Still almost half a round to go here in the 5th. He's going to have to really get on it if he's going to stop him. Referee Harry Smith been inconspicuous here throughout this fight. Hasn't had to do much. I don't think there's been one clinch.
I think you're
in
right.
the entire fight.
I was about to ask you, is there a ref in there? I mean, I like that. I like that. The guys are doing what they have to do from the outside. They are not grabbing, mauling, holding, pushing, or anything. They back up and they fight from the outside. There we go.
And there's the first clinch. I was about to say, too, with under a minute to go here in the 5th, it's the first time that I've seen Carriero go flat-footed and even lean on the ropes a little bit and clinch. He may be getting tired. He's kept up a pretty good pace here for almost a full 5 rounds.
But Gary's still coming in, bending down, looking at the body shots. There's never a round, I think, where Gary's giving 100%. And I'm saying this in all loving respect. I think Gary's a well-conditioned fighter. I just believe that he can step on it if he wants to.
By the way, answer to our little trivia question here. Franklin Betances did turn pro at 18 years of age back in August of '95. So still only 24 years old. So I guess that's what Tommy Parks is banking on, that he can really work with him. But he's way behind here. He's going to need a knockout coming out for the 6th.
Oh, if nothing else, he's a stylish fighter. Got all those matching colors.
It's all Carriero.
Hey, boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
Sixth and final round of this middleweight fight. Gary Carriero, he's in the white and black, been controlling the fight, pitching a shutout unofficially on our cards, 50-45 against Franklin Betances in the black shorts with the white stripe. And I don't know, Randy, I know you're rooting real hard for this knockout for the first one in his career, but not looking good.
I want to be ringside. I know Gary is not going to go through a professional career without a knockout. He's got to land one sooner or later.
Well, not to take anything away from Franklin Betances, but if you had to have a perfect called central casting and said, give me the right guy for my guy to knock out tonight. He's got the guy. 3-year layoff. He's been stopped twice, hasn't fought since April of '98. But he's still standing there and giving up 6 pounds to boot, not to mention the height and the reach.
For some reason, I think it just looks like that on paper. Sure, he's got that losing record. He's got, I'm telling you, you see a Tommy Parks in a guy's corner, you have to wonder, why is Tommy there? We've been talking about it. He must see something. I mean, maybe he doesn't see future greatness, Hall of Fame here, but there's got to be a reason that he's there. And this guy has taken some blistering shots tonight. I think he's got an outstanding chin.
Yeah, he does. And Betances, to his credit, taking this fight on one-day notice. Carriero was supposed to fight Antoine Barrett. Things really starting to heat up a little bit here right now. Letting that right hand go. Figuring he may not have another opportunity like this to record his first knockdown. Getting into it here in the final minute of this fight. Crowd full of policemen and firemen.
A room filled with heroes.
Absolutely. And we have to applaud Joe DeGuardia for making those tickets available.
Absolutely.
To all of our working men from all over the Bronx, as it turns out tonight. That's where the majority of them came in from. And, terrific to see him here. They did a great job for us on 9/11 and continue to as well. But is it a good enough job for Gary Carriero? Good enough to win the decision, Randy, but I don't think Franklin Betances is going anyplace.
Not tonight, anyway.
And Betances, one of these fighters, as we mentioned, turns pro at 18. He's only 24 now. Tommy Parks sees something there, but it's almost like you'd want to start the career over again.
Exactly. You know, I think he's got that opponent mentality. We'll just do enough to survive.
Well, I don't know what's left over from 3 years ago, but he came in tonight 2-4. There's the final bell. And it would seem unofficially that easy shutout win for Carriero, but we're going to get the official decision when we come back after these words. Stay with us. We're swinging on the star. All right, back at ringside, getting ready for our official decision. Up to our ring announcer, Dean Stone.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of action here in Yonkers, New York, we go to the scorecard, and all 3 judges, Jorge Colon, Chick Hill, and Melvina Latham, have it exactly the same way. 60-54 for your winner by unanimous decision, Carriero.
Decision, seeing it the way we saw it, 60-54 on all cards. He'll improve to 9-11-2, dropping down to 2-5, Franklin Betances. But how does Gary feel about his performance and that all-elusive knockout? Our Randy Gordon's with him right now.
Well, Gary, you heard the decisions. All the judges gave you every single round, but are you happy with the performance in your comeback?
I'm happy with the performance. I should have been stronger in the end, but you know, it's my 3rd fight coming back after a 3-year layoff, and I just thank God for letting me do what I do best in the ring.
If you had to do it all over again tonight, what would you do different?
I would probably throw more power punches. The kid was easy to hit. He was right there in front of me, so I probably would throw more harder punches to try to take him out.
Gary, you dropped, I believe it was in the 4th round, 2 of the hardest right hands I've ever seen you land, one after the other, and the guy was still standing. What did you think to yourself then?
I thought I gotta go the distance, so I'm ready to go the distance, and I'm not a very powerful puncher, but I got good speed and I'm smart. and God's on my side.
Well, you just said something. You said, I'm not a powerful puncher. Do you think you're not a powerful puncher? You don't have a knockout yet. I'm rooting for you to get a knockout.
Well, no, I don't have a knockout, but that's why I'm in shape to go the distance. Earlier in my career, I was never in shape to go the distance. That's why I'm trying it again at 33 years old to try to just give it a shot. I see all these champions out there, and they're having fights against #1 contenders, and I think I can get better.
Okay,
fights.
I'm going to go from the old fighter to the young trainer over here who worked with Jake LaMotta. Jimmy, what's he going to do now?
Well, he's going to go another 6. Then I'm going to bring him to 2/8, then 2/10s. Then I'm going for the New York State title.
New York State title, here it comes, and then the world, who knows, Gary Carriero, winner tonight by unanimous decision. Let's go back to ringside and Arnie Rosenthal.
All right, thanks, Randy. And Gary told it to us the way it is. He says I'm just not a very tough puncher. Stay with us. More to come. We're swinging.